My daughter takes violin lessons because people will always want to see humans playing instruments in an orchestra, in my opinion, not robots. Do you think orchestras will become more popular as people want to see a performance? The little imperfections in a human orchestra are what gives the music its feel or presence. Playing violin or cello or other instruments may be one of the few employment options for humans in the future, which could be a very good thing. We can let AIs do all the nasty stuff. Do you agree with us, with this?
I want to start with you if we can. That's a really interesting point.
Yeah, I really hope so. That would be great. My friend who works in the music industry would have a very different answer that would be very depressing, I think, about how every jingle, the way that musicians were making their money 5 minutes ago, is now being done by AI. But I do keep hearing with these, with ChatGPT, it's like it can free us up to be creative. I don't know what we think we're going to do with all the time we have, because ChatGPT, so it's meant to synthesise all our information. Apparently it can write a novel, it can write a screenplay. Like, what else are we doing that we can suddenly... Maybe we can learn to play the violin or something. And what I love about your question is that it speaks to the imperfection inherent in our art. Unfortunately, ChatGPT does imperfection very well as well, in that it's just bad sometimes. But I would hope that as someone who, has written books, has written fiction, that is something humans still have hold over. Because I'm thinking, maybe you can get AI to write a song, but Taylor Swift recently in Australia, that was an embodied intensely human experience. That's why we enjoy music. And so there are some things that I think humans still have control over and do better than the robots.
So an AI Taylor Swift on that stage wouldn't have quite got there, right?
Look, I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. And the fact that they can go, write a Taylor Swift's next song and it probably wouldn't be bad is a little worrying. But I think people like to see the real thing. They like to see the stumbles and the way that, humans make errors. It's what makes us...
So you've written a book. You've got a lot of books in you. I can feel it. Right? I'm right. It's a fair assumption.
Yes.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of books from you.
Yeah.
Does it worry you?
Yeah, because even my last book, I was grappling with it. That was fiction, and I went, I think ChatGPT could have written this. Because what do you do when you sit down to write a book, right? You read everything in the genre and then you sort of spit out whatever comes. And I went, maybe ChatGPT, if it could draw on all of human knowledge. I mean, sitting on this panel, it would do such a better job than me because it would know about nuclear. It would know about all the nuclear things because it would have all the information. But Jessie is a limited human being who doesn't have access to that. Is very silly about it. But I did think with the book, I went, I don't know if it is... I mean, on the other hand, I go, AI can't suffer. It doesn't have loss. It can't walk down the street and have a fresh, original thought. It can't interact with the world like we do. But it can draw on every human who ever did. So that does genuinely worry me.
OK, it can't do all of those things yet.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
it might be able to.
It definitely can. It definitely can.
Cool.
But I think, I don't know. Cool.
Cool.
But
Feeling
I think,
OK about that?
I don't know, but I'm really optimistic about this. So I think humans have been creative our entire lives. So we have not only been good at it, being mathematically creative or artistically creative or writing something or building something, but we have derived real joy and pleasure from it. So I don't think just because there's an AI that can do it just as well as we can, it's going to be the death of all of those things. I think it will survive and we will still derive value from it. But I think in the realm of creativity, there's a really interesting question that surfaces, which is, what is inspiration and what is infringement? So if AI looks at my poem that I've posted and used it to train its data, and spits out something that's really, really great, is that infringement on my data or is it inspiration? And if it is infringement, how do we even start to mark who owns what and detect and moderate and run that whole system? So that's a really interesting question.
Claire, I'm getting the sense that you're actually quite optimistic about AI. You are?
I think if people like Putin had access to AI, he might have become a conductor instead of a megalomaniac. And he could take it out in the orchestra.
Right. Just such a different perspective, which I think is great to hear, right?
Well, the other thing is, I think there's a lot of us versus them here tonight. It's like the humans versus the AI. Are they going to kill us, or what do we owe them? I think the real future, or at least a brighter future, is it's us and them. And so we can meld with the AI systems in order to be able to do the things that we couldn't do alone. And we can inject what we can provide, and the AI can inject what it can provide, and we can enter a realm where we create things that we could never have imagined.
We're kind of like partners.
What's that?
We're like partners with the AI.
Exactly.
I'd take it even further than that,
Yeah.
where what it's doing is, if you look as technology's happened over time, it's allowed humanity to just lift itself and take on bigger thoughts, bigger approaches, creativity in a different way, achievements which we couldn't have done before, as you were saying. If we just look at it as a black and white, as you were saying, sort of it's either good or bad, I think we'll end up missing out on how it can really uplift us in a way to allow us to maybe even be more amazing. I mean, humanity is incredible. Just when you think of what we've achieved, can we actually see this as a way to achieve even more down the line?
But in order to enable that, I think we need regulation.
Oh, yeah.
And well-considered regulation that has global collaboration. Because if we don't have that, like, for example, we don't have data into what's happening in China, how the abusers are using some kind of AI to generate some kind of pornographic material, or Google doesn't have access to TikTok's data. There are all these information silos that makes it really hard to even grasp the shape of the problem. So how do we even then decide what is malicious and what is not? What is our priority, so that we can regulate AI, so we can be partners to it?
And then I suppose the arts are always under threat. So it feels like if it's my book up against AI, then I see that as a potential future, and I think I feel threatened by that.
Jessie, I'm always going to get your book over the AI.